Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the English Story Podcast, where we bring you interesting stories from around the English-speaking world to help you improve your English. I'm Emily, and with me is
John. Hello, everyone. We're so glad you could join us today. Our goal is to make learning English fun and accessible. Each week, we dive into a story that helps you understand key vocabulary and important grammar points. Today, we're going to explore something really useful: the past perfect tense. It's one of those things that can make your English sound more natural and help you express yourself more clearly.
Exactly, John. The past perfect tense is a bit more advanced, but don't worry, we'll break it down step by step, so it's easy to understand. First, we'll listen to a story about a surprise birthday party, and then we'll explain how the past perfect tense is used in the story. By the end of this episode, you'll know how to use the past perfect tense confidently in your own conversations.
Let's dive right in. But before we get into the story, let me quickly explain what the past perfect tense is and why it's important. The past perfect tense is used to talk about an action that happened before another action in the past. It's a great way to make your storytelling more precise and clear.
That's a great introduction, John. So let's get started with our story for today. Our story today is about Sarah, who planned a surprise birthday party for her friend Anna. Listen carefully to how the events are described and pay special attention to when certain actions happened.
Sarah had spent weeks planning the perfect surprise party for her best friend Anna. She had invited all of Anna's friends, decorated the house with balloons and streamers, and had even baked a chocolate cake, Anna's favorite. On the day of the party, everything was ready. Sarah had told everyone to arrive at 6 p.m., but Anna had called earlier in the day to say she would be late because she had to finish some work. Sarah wasn't worried. She had planned everything down to the last detail. By the time Anna arrived, all the guests had already gathered, and they were hiding quietly in the living room. Sarah had told them to keep quiet until she gave the signal. When Anna finally opened the door and walked in, everyone jumped out and shouted, "Surprise!" Anna was shocked. She had not expected anything like this. She had thought it would be just a quiet evening at home. As she looked around, she realized that Sarah had invited all her favorite people. It turned out to be a wonderful evening full of laughter, good food, and great memories. Sarah was thrilled that all her hard work had paid off, and Anna was incredibly happy.
What a lovely story. Now let's go over some of the vocabulary used in the story that might be new to you. Understanding these words will help you better grasp the details of the story.
Yes, let's start with the word planned. Sarah had planned the party, which means she had thought about and organized everything in advance. Planning is something you do before an event happens.
Next is gathered. The guests had gathered in the living room, which means they had come together in one place.
Another important word is realized. Anna realized that Sarah had invited all her favorite people. To realize something means to suddenly understand or become aware of something.
And finally, we have thrilled. Sarah was thrilled that her hard work had paid off. Thrilled means extremely happy or excited.
These are all great words to add to your vocabulary. Now that we've gone over the vocabulary, let's move on to the grammar focus of today's episode: the past perfect tense.
The past perfect tense might sound a bit tricky at first, but once you understand how it's used, it becomes a powerful tool for expressing events in the past. The past perfect is used to describe an action that happened before another action in the past. In other words, it's like saying, this had happened before something else happened.
Right. To form the past perfect tense, you use had followed by the past participle of the verb. The structure is very simple. Had plus past participle. For example, in the story, we heard, Sarah had spent weeks planning the perfect surprise party. This tells us that Sarah spent weeks planning the party before the party actually took place.
Exactly. The past perfect tense helps us show the order of events. It's particularly useful when you're telling a story because it allows you to make the sequence of events clear. Let's look at another example from the story. By the time Anna arrived, all the guests had already gathered. Here, had gathered tells us that the guests were already in the living room before Anna arrived.
Another example is, Anna had thought it would be just a quiet evening at home. This tells us that before she arrived, Anna believed it would be a normal evening, but she was surprised to find out it wasn't.
The key thing to remember is that the past perfect is used to show that one action happened before another action in the past. It's like saying, this happened first, and then this happened.
Let's practice forming the past perfect tense with some examples. I'll give you a sentence in the simple past, and you can try to change it to use the past perfect. A simple past. Sarah invited the guests before she decorated the house. Past perfect. Sarah had invited the guests before she decorated the house.
Good. Here's another one. Simple past. Anna finished her work and then left for the party. Past perfect. Anna had finished her work before she left for the party.
Great, let's try one more. Simple past. They ate the cake after they sang happy birthday. Past. Perfect. They had sung happy birthday before they ate the cake.
Perfect. As you can see, the past perfect tense helps you put the actions in the correct order, making your story clearer and more detailed.
Now that we've practiced forming the past perfect, let's talk about when and how to use it in different situations.
The past perfect tense is really useful in various situations. Let's discuss some common scenarios where you might want to use the past perfect.
The first situation is when you're talking about an event that happened before another event in the past. For example, if you want to say that you finished your homework before your friend arrived, you would say, I had finished my homework before my friend arrived.
Another situation is when you want to explain the cause of something that happened later. For instance, she was tired because she had not slept well. Here, the lack of sleep happened before the feeling of tiredness.
You can also use the past perfect to express regret or something that didn't happen but should have. For example, I wish I had studied more for the exam. This sentence expresses regret about not studying enough before the exam.
The past perfect is also useful in reported speech, which is when you're telling someone what someone else said. For example, if your friend said, I saw the movie, you could report it by saying, she said she had seen the movie.
That's a really good point, John. It helps keep the sequence of events clear, especially when you're recounting conversations or stories.
And one more thing to remember is that the past perfect is often used with words like already, just, never, before, and after. These words can help indicate the time relationship between two events. For example, she had already left when I arrived, or he had never been to Paris before last year.
Let's do a quick recap to make sure everything is clear. Today we talked about the past perfect tense, which is used to describe actions that happened before other actions in the past. We learned that the past perfect is formed with had, plus the past participle of the verb, and it's really useful for making the order of events clear in your stories.
We also discussed when to use the past perfect, when you're talking about something that happened before something else, when explaining the cause of something, expressing regret, or using reported speech. And remember, words like already, just, never, before, and after can help clarify the timing of events.
We hope this episode has helped you understand the past perfect tense better. It's a really important part of English, and once you get the hang of it, it can make your communication much more precise and effective.
Thanks for joining us today. Keep practicing using the past perfect in your own sentences. The more you use it, the more natural it will become.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Leave us a comment or a review, and let us know what topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes.
We're here to help you on your English learning journey, so feel free to reach out with any questions. Until next time, happy learning.
Goodbye, everyone. Keep practicing and have a great day.
Goodbye. See you next time on the English Story Podcast.